Marcus Aurelius, living as a Hanno, tends to his crops along with his wife, Arishat. They witness smoke and fire from the nearby gates, indicating a call to battle. They suit up and join their fellow warriors against General Acacius and his Roman army. Lucius and Arishat put up a good fight, but Acacius spots Arishat firing her bow and arrow, and he commands his men to kill her. She is fatally hit with an arrow and falls into the ocean, while Lucius is also knocked out into the water. He finds himself between life and death, watching Arishat joining the ferryman into the afterlife while he is pulled back to life. Lucius is enslaved alongside the surviving soldiers and citizens, while the city is taken. Acacius returns to Ostia and is rewarded by Geta and Caracalla. Geta tells Acacius that they have their sights set on conquering Persia and India next, while Acacius believes they should be focused on the citizens of Rome. Geta denies Acacius time away with his wife and makes plans with Caracalla for gladiator games in the Colosseum. Lucius and the other slaves are brought to Antium in an arena overseen by a stablemaster named Macrinus. The slaves are forced into combat against feral baboons. The Numidian chieftain, Jugurtha, who was brought in with Lucius, chooses death in the arena and lets a baboon tear into his neck. Lucius fights one baboon and bites its arm before strangling it to death with his shackles. Macrinus quickly takes notice and later pits Lucius in hand-to-hand combat against gladiator trainer Vigo, further impressing Macrinus with his fighting skills. Macrinus notes the rage that Lucius lives with, and Lucius states that he has his sights set on killing Acacius. Macrinus promises he can do this if he fights hard enough in Rome. Acacius returns to his wife, the remarried Lucilla. He expresses his disgust in seeing how many soldiers are being sacrificed for the twin emperors' need for conquests. Together, they plan an insurrection alongside their allies like Gracchus. Macrinus brings Lucius to a party in the city, thrown by Senator Thrax. In front of the emperors and other members of the Senate, Lucius is pitted against another fighter for their entertainment. He tries to stop the other man, but is forced to fight and eventually impale the man. Geta approaches Lucius and asks him a question, but Lucius only responds by quoting Virgil, "The gates of hell are open night and day, smooth the descent, and easy the way. But to return and view the cheerful skies, in this the task and mighty labor lies." The gladiator games commence, with Lucius and others brought into the Colosseum. Lucius runs the dirt in the arena through his hands, much like the late warrior Maximus did. This causes Lucilla to take notice and recognize Lucius. He and other gladiators are pitted against undefeated champion Glisio. He slaughters the other men while riding his pet rhino until he is left to fight Lucius. They have a brutal fight before Lucius is knocked down, and Geta gives Glisio a chance to spare Lucius. Rejecting this, Lucius continues the fight until he impales Glisio, and then gets the thumbs down signal to decapitate Glisio. After the fight, Lucilla goes to her private quarters and remembers hearing the quote from Virgil, then remembers sending Lucius away into exile as a boy for his safety. Lucius meets and befriends the gladiator doctor, Ravi, as he tends to Lucius's wounds. Later, Gracchus brings Lucilla to meet with Lucius so she can tell him of his true parentage, that he is the son of Maximus. Lucius does not care to hear it and angrily orders Lucilla to leave his cell due to her sending him away from home, and the fact that Acacius is responsible for Arishat's death. She then goes to Acacius and asks that he help Lucius. Lucius trains and later joins the other gladiators in a naval battle. He leads them to victory by having them destroy the other ship's oars and then ramming into them down the middle. He tries to fire his crossbow at Acacius, but it instead goes right between Geta and Caracalla, which they consider a personal attack. Macrinus goes to Thrax's home to kick him out of it since he owes him a large debt. To make up for it, Thrax spills the beans about the plan to overthrow the emperors since he was previously in on it. Macrinus collects this information and still forces Thrax out. Acacius and Lucilla are brought before Geta and Caracalla to expose their treachery. Geta says they will be forgotten before they are imprisoned. Macrinus convinces Geta to put Acacius in the games as punishment. Lucius bonds with Ravi more and learns that he was a former slave who won his freedom after fighting in the games. Ravi shows Lucius the shrine to the gladiators, including a wall that has Maximus's name crossed off, but his armor and sword are still kept hung up privately, along with his words, "What we do in this life echoes in eternity." Acacius is forced to fight against soldiers of the Praetorian Guard. He slaughters them all before he must fight Lucius. They battle until Lucius has Acacius at his mercy. Lucius then refuses to execute Acacius after he tells him how he loves his mother and how he would have died for his father. Geta orders the Praetorian Guard to execute Acacius by firing dozens of arrows at him. Lucius then condemns their actions, telling the spectators that if this is how Rome treats its heroes, they should expect to be treated worse. Lucius leaves as they chant his name. Macrinus visits Lucius in his cell to question his decision to spare Acacius. Lucius believes in a fairer way to lead Rome, but Macrinus disagrees. He later visits the emperors as the people are beginning to riot in the streets. After Geta insults Caracalla over their different views on how to handle the matter, Macrinus talks to Caracalla in private, knowing that he feels that he always has to share everything with Geta and never has anything for himself. Macrinus convinces Caracalla to confront his brother with a dagger. Geta tries to talk Caracalla down, but Macrinus guides his hand to slash Geta's throat before decapitating him. Lucilla visits Lucius again to give him the ring that belonged to his grandfather. They reconcile, and Lucius hugs his mother for the first time in ages. Lucius then gives the ring to Ravi to deliver to a general in Ostia so that his army might come to their aid. Caracalla takes over the throne and makes his first act to appoint his pet monkey Dandas as his consul, while having Macrinus in a higher position of power. Macrinus presents Geta's head to the other horrified senators after Caracalla leaves to establish why he must gain even more power, forcing them to vote him to lead the Praetorian Guard. Macrinus then goes to Lucilla's cell to talk to her about how her grandfather had him enslaved, and how he plans to end the imperial bloodline by becoming emperor himself. Macrinus has Caracalla put Lucilla and the other conspirators out in the Colosseum, with only Lucius to defend her. The plan is to have the crowd riot if Lucilla really is killed, which would provide an opportunity to kill Caracalla and ascend to the throne. When Lucius learns that he must defend his mother, he breaks out of his cell and kills Vigo before the other slaves break out and revolt. Lucius then goes to take his father's armor and sword before leading the other men to take back their freedom. The gladiators battle the Praetorian soldiers in the arena, leading to a full-on riot as spectators become hit with arrows and start to fight back. Gracchus is also killed in the middle of the fight. In the chaos, Macrinus seizes the opportunity to stick a slender bodkin in Carcalla's ear to kill him, and then fire an arrow into Lucilla's chest before Lucius can save her. Macrinus then jumps on a horse to join the Praetorian Guard to face the incoming army at the gates. Lucius chases after Macrinus and corners him right as the two armies come face to face. Lucius then charges with his horse towards Macrinus, leading to their final duel. Macrinus nearly overpowers Lucius, but he remembers his mother's words and gains the upper hand. He chops off Macrinus's left arm before slashing him fatally. Lucius then addresses both armies and convinces them to no longer fight senselessly. They put their swords away and chant in agreement. At night, Lucius goes into the arena by himself. He kneels into the sands and speaks to Maximus as he mourns both his parents.